What up? What up? What up? What it is? What it do? You know who it is. Who are you? We back again with the 22 twos. We here for an edition of Shoot Your Shot Playoff Edition. But before we go ahead and get into that, we want to shout out a new addition to the team. Shout out to baby Ava, born uh April 15th. As you can tell, moderator extraordinaire Felix is not in the building. Um, so we're gonna hold it down for him while he changed diapers and birth babies.
And Sean turning into the new Unk.
Yeah, you the new Shay Shay.
You know
Anyway.
what I'm saying?
Uncle, Uncle Shay Shay, holla at your boy. But
That's true.
with us down a man, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my hat in the ring and try to do this moderator thing. Um, Try to hold it down for Felix and the fellas. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're gonna talk about the NBA playoffs. It's in full swing, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the NBA season awards. Um, but let's go ahead and get straight into the Eastern Conference and talk about the one versus AC matchup. We're gonna talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat in that series as it plays out. Um, Different look Heat in the playoffs. No Jimmy buckets. Um, so my question to you, Sean, with no Jimmy buckets for the first time, how big of a difference does that make you think for the Heat in the playoff? They're still nothing kind of changes. Another 8 seed. Um, they've been 8 seed quite a few times. It seemed like,
Yeah, without Jimmy.
huh?
With Jimmy and without Jimmy.
With Jimmy or without Jimmy, they're 8 seed. So are they overhyped, and what difference does it make for them not having Jimmy buckets?
I have a question for you. Why do you think that they would be overhyped? Under what circumstances was anybody ever excited about the Miami Heat? Like they're not the team that everybody's looking to watch. I mean, they did what they did in the playoffs, which was, I mean, in the playing game, which was cool. But when you look at the team, the Miami Heat over the last 6 years has been a talent disparate team. They haven't had anybody who you can look at and say that you're afraid of, other than Jimmy Butler. You look at his performances in the playoffs; he dragged that the Miami Heat team in 2022 to the finals, and you see how he walked away from a game two and game three with ice packs all over. And then now fast forward to the point now where they traded Jimmy Butler. It's like, who the Miami Heat really have? You're gonna be afraid of Tyler Hero. Not taking anything away from Tyler Hero. No, don't do that, because Tyler Hero's a baller. You know what I'm saying? But he's not a one-man wrecking crew. They've got certain guys like Davion Mitchell who stepped in spots, and Bam Adebayo, but Bam is not a true center. He's playing outmatched most of the time. And the Heat are not noisemakers in the East. And we look for they're, as a matter of fact, they getting trounced right now by the Cleveland Cavaliers. So no, they are not the team. No Jimmy Butler. Um, doesn't mean anything for the Cavaliers. They're just another team that they're gonna sweep and send to Cancun early.
They don't
So,
got to go too far.
so,
They go right
so
down to Ocean Drive.
yeah, the only reason I say that they overhyped, just to answer your question that you came with early on, is everyone talks about the heat culture, heat culture. So heat culture gets you the 8 seed in the playoff year after year after year. Um, that said, let's go to the other side of the matchup. I'm gonna come to you, Darnell. We're talking about the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell and what they've been doing so far. What do you think of you know that roster and what they're doing, and can they carry over their season success into the playoffs?
As I said, I have a friend of mine that's a Cavaliers fan, and I said straight up, look, it's either this year or no other year. You guys have the best record in the East. Could have been the best record in the NBA as well. All of that talent, making the trade for, I think DeAndre Hunter is a
It was
great
the
pick.
best record in the NBA.
Huh?
It was the best record in the NBA.
They were the no. I thought Oklahoma City had the number one overall record, best
Mm-mm.
record.
No, Cavaliers,
Oh,
buddy.
it was the Cavs. Yes. Okay, so you got number one overall record in the NBA. You got Ty Jerome playing out of his mind. Granted, he did. It was funny because Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter, if I'm not mistaken, played on that same UVA team that won the national championship. So you got a core of good bench guys there. But I think even with all that being said, nobody's gonna really pick them over if they end up going against the Celtics. But we're just a matter of, is that momentum real? Can Donovan Mitchell and Mobley and the whole
Jared Allen
of what they
and
have, can that carry into the postseason success once they get past Miami? Because Miami's nobody. Like, we have to be honest. Like, Miami's just a middle of the pack team. They're gonna make the playoffs. It's not gonna be fancy. Pat Riley, and a lot of times, man, you gotta he's a guy, but he's stuck in his ways, and he has to start to realize, like, you need superstars to win. This is a different type of NBA. This is not what it was before. And the Cavs are going to roll them over. Like, I'll be shocked if they get one game. I'll be shocked, in my opinion, humblest opinion.
Okay.
but real quick though, that's why the apron puts a lot of teams, back against the wall. You have your currency
Yeah.
in first round picks, right? And you don't want to trade away that currency to go get a player, and you go over the cap. And then now it's like, where do you get your talent from? You have to not miss when you draft. You know what I'm saying? And even if you do draft, you're not guaranteed to get the player that you want. So the Heat, they tried to get a deal done that made sense, and it didn't work out.
True, true indeed. But to that point though, I do want to say, yeah, I feel like in the NBA at this point, like uh, every year there's like one or two guys that are gonna come out and then pause and gonna be difference makers, like from day one. And if you can develop good basketball players, it doesn't matter where you're drafting guys anymore. I think that shows with the likes of like, the first name that comes to mind is like Tyrese Maxey. So um that's just my thought on it. But I think it looked like we lost a man, but down to two. Oh, here he is. He's back. But
Sorry.
the main question that I'm gonna ask for every one of these series that we're gonna talk about is, what have we learned so far in this series?
Do you mean in the Cavs Heat series
Yeah, in the Cavs Heat series, what have we learned so far?
that Miami sucks and Cleveland is really good, and it may not work to their betterment by having so much time off uh going into the second round. Whomever they play is going to give them they have to be, what's the word, warm. They've been cruising all the way up until this point. So answer your question, short answer, uh it it's it benefits Cleveland to play more basketball, in my personal opinion.
Okay, perfect. With that said, we're gonna go into the last year's number one seed versus, I think, the team that everyone sees as the up and comer in the East, the number two Boston Celtics versus the number seven Orlando Magic. And I'm struggling. I guess this is where you gotta take your hat off to Felix, and when you got these questions that you have to ask. So I'm gonna just put this out here to both of you guys because I want to hear both your thoughts on it. How scary is Orlando's youth movement?
You may speak, Donna. Okay.
No,
So
no, no
so
comment.
so
Okay.
the Orlando Magic, for me, it's like they only have a three-headed attack right now, Paul. They have Franz, they got Bankero, and they got Wendell Carter. That is it. You know what I'm saying? And you're seeing them going up against this basketball team. And let me say something first before we get into that. The officiating, from what everybody has been asking for, everybody's saying the NBA is soft, this and that. They've been letting a lot of these guys play. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of physicality, a lot of elbows, a lot of shoves in the back. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of physicality going on. So shout out to the NBA to being able to allow some physicality back into the game and allow guys to be able to play. With that being said, the Orlando Magic, if they get the right pieces, they will be a very dangerous team in years to come with Ben Carroll and Franz and Wendell Carter. I like their brand of basketball. Obviously, they do not have enough when they go up against the Celtics and they decide to rattle off like 5 or 6 threes going into the third, and then clean wipe those boys off the floor. But I think that Orlando is a feisty team. I figured to see them, push the Celtics a bit, but they just don't have enough. Um, but yeah, I like Orlando, but they just don't have enough to compete with the Celtics. And even without a Jason Tatum tonight, they're having their troubles. So
Yeah,
that's where
and
I'm at with it.
to your point, I think, um, there are something to watch in the next 2 or 3 years. They kind of give you that sense that you've had with OKC the last couple of years, where it's like they got something brewing over there that's gonna be dangerous, and teams better watch out, for what they're able to do. So Donnell, I'm gonna come to you, right? So Celtics, they're the number 2 seed. Is that number 2 seed misleading, them not being the number 1 seed in the East? And regardless of it's misleading or not, they have a history of faltering other than last year. So can the Celtics avoid another early round scare or actual series loss?
They're not losing series. The Celtics are not losing in the East. The Eastern Conference, nobody's going to beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. We have to be honest about that. They might get a run with Cleveland, but they have that championship level DNA. They have the gear. They will, whenever they have it. I think the Celtics play like 15, they play everybody. And nobody runs out of energy. Yeah, they might have lows, but there's times when even without Tatum, somebody kicks in. You got to give it to Peyton Pritchard. You got to give
Defensively,
it,
they get after it.
and they
They get
they play
after it.
team basketball. Derek White,
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, from top to bottom, next to the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are the most complete team in the NBA. And if you look at them, they're almost built eerily similar in a lot of different ways. But there's no competition for them in the East. Like, we have to really be honest here. If the Cavs give them for a run, if who well, you know what? I'll say this. No, I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say. I'm wait for later. But right now, they are in the driver's seat. They are gonna probably sweep Orlando. If Orlando gets one game, it might be a lucky number, game 3 or game 4, but I highly doubt it, in my
And you could
opinion.
kind you could kind of see where Orlando's struggling because they
They
don't
can't
have
shoot.
well that and they don't have a primary ball handler that makes it easy for them to
Yeah.
get into sets. Everything is difficult. Jalen Suggs,
Yeah.
he's out in injury. So they don't have a guard like yeah, they got Anthony coming off the bench, but he's not somebody who's going to get them in sets and make it easy for those stars to get shots. Everything looks difficult for them. You know what I'm
You
saying? But that's
you
how
you
they've been
can't
playing. They've been
listen.
grinding it out. Pause.
You can't have Paulo Banquero and Mo Wagner as your primary four defenders and offensive defenders. The
And they're
Wagner,
they're
the
pretty good,
Wagner,
man.
you cannot have that. Sorry, you can't have that.
I will
All
not
right,
allow you
so
to talk about Wagner this way.
The Wagner brothers, the Wagners.
so so since we talk about that, and you guys are kind of leaning into what you see, what have we learned from this series? What did we learn from the Magic Celtic series?
Celtics are really fucking good when they get rolling with 3 pointers. There's really nothing teams can do because they can shoot it 1 through 5. And they run pick and roll and they make difficult matchups. And then you have vets that get it done on both sides of the ball, like Al Horford, Luke Cornett. It's Peyton Pritchard, 6 man of the year is just ridiculous. I mean, you're waiting for that Eastern Conference Finals collision between them and the Cavaliers. Um, yeah, Boston, like Darnell said, has the pedigree. We're gonna have to see how it shakes out. No
Okay,
surprises.
okay,
They're going to the finals.
okay. Well, you heard it here first, or second, or third, or we don't know how many people said it, but we're gonna go ahead and get into our favorite series, the matchup that you have all been waiting for, the number 3 New York Knicks
Is it?
versus the number 6 Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball. Shout out Jalen Rose. But yeah, this is a hometown team. We're gonna try to keep it short because we got a lot. We got a lot to say. We're gonna talk about the coaching. We can talk about
I'll let Donnell cook.
officiation.
Let
We
him
we
cook.
can talk
I ain't
about
even say.
the rotation. We could talk about the play calling. We could talk about the trades that were made in the off season and the output that we're getting from those trades. But we gonna sum it all up. All right, Darnell. I want you to tell me what is considered a successful postseason for this version of the New York Knickerbockers.
This version, they just got a bad luck of the draw, man. You know what I mean? You got a young Pistons team that they're not scared. They're not scared. They look, they say, hey, Jalen Brunson, you know what? We're gonna let you drop 37 and everybody else is gonna drop 10. How about that? We're gonna let you do that. We're not gonna let you get these calls. The refs are playing to that. This really tough, hard-nosed Detroit team. And I mean, success for the Knicks would have been, as I said, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but you know, we got a buzzsaw coming up if we do get past the Pistons, and when we do get past the Pistons, if we do, we're gonna run right into the Celtics. So it kind of sucks because we made all of these trades and we ended up being right back at the same spot we were last year. But offensively, better, much better, fifth rank efficiency in the NBA. It kind of disappears against this Pistons team, So I'll say this: if the Knicks happen to lose to the Pistons are going to give the Celtics a run for their money. If that's the case,
I want you to answer the question, sir.
I
The
said
question.
success would have been going to the Eastern Conference Finals,
But
but right now,
what it will be considered a successful postseason now that we're here and now that we know what the reality of the situation is?
a success would be going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. All right.
This guy's
Go
drunk.
ahead.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. First, all right. In a vacuum, when we go over these games, when we look at them, right? Fandom usually comes into play. Our hearts are a much heavier opinion than our minds, right? When we watch these games, you have to remember that game to game in the playoffs, no game is the same. The same thing that you're like a turnaround and kill you, right? Jalen Brunson, what did he do game one? Came back, new shoes, dropped 30 something. Everybody was on his dick, right? Then you turn around and you look at game two in contrast, he gives you 30 something, and everybody is like, oh, he didn't get everybody involved. This came first, and before I even get ahead of myself, this iteration of this basketball team has changed over the summer, right? We're looking at a brand new basketball team, which has won 50 games. You know what I'm saying? The whole dynamic of what this team was from last year is not the same as it is this year. So you have to understand that there's going to be times, and this isn't homegrown talent. We traded for a lot of the talent that we have on this basketball team, which requires patience and time spent with these guys being able to play with each other, pause, and figure out these kinds of situations so that this adversity kind of builds a granite tough New York basketball team. So it's very important to remember that. To answer the question, not to be long-winded, I think that success is weighted in getting to where you were last year and not digressing and falling out of the first round. You want to win this series against the Detroit Pistons. You do not want to lose this series because guess what? It could result in changes in the front office in terms of coaching. But although I don't see that, I see them hanging on the tips. But I do see their success being getting to the second round and pushing the Boston Celtics as far as they can, maybe 6 or 7 games. Go out swinging. Don't go
Okay.
out. Don't go out in a blaze. Go out in a blaze of glory, basically.
Okay. I could agree with that. I think um the
You should. It's sensible. It
this
makes
is the
sense.
fan, but this is the fandom talking for me right now. I think it really sucks that we've waited so long for a version of the Knicks basketball team that is like this one. Um, that right now there's so much parity in the league. And I say that because our emergence last year, at the end of the season when we kind of were healthy, everyone was, perk and all the pundits were saying, watch out for the Knicks. We made the trade. Everyone was saying, watch out for the Knicks. But I think the reality of what is happening around the league and more, at a more micro level in the Eastern Conference is that like, hey, these teams are getting better. Orlando's gonna be good. We see Detroit and their turnaround that they've made. The Celtics are, they have some staying power. They're gonna be there for a while.
The
Uh,
Pacers are a deep basketball team. They can play
Pacers are
10.
super deep.
Go
Yeah.
like at
Yeah,
least 12 deep,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just like, damn, like we got good when everybody else is kind of like, starting to get good as well in the Eastern Conference. So it just
But
kind of,
that's what you
yeah,
that's what you want.
iron sharpens iron, but it's like,
That's what you
damn,
want.
we want to win for a little bit. We want to chip. We are championship hungry. There's there, you know, the Yankees win championships. The Giants have won championships in our lifetime. Like if you want to go back and say in our lifetime, the Rangers have won a championship in our lifetime. There is nothing on the face of the earth that will be as seismic as the New York Knicks winning the NBA championship. Because that
Yeah.
we want that so badly. Um, but we have a tough challenge in Detroit and the Detroit Pistons. So I gotta ask a question. We kind of alluded to it, how teams have improved. Have the Detroit Pistons arrived? What do we think of their future and what it looks like for them over the next couple of years?
I guess we'll
They're
see.
no, go ahead.
I guess we'll see what happens with this series. You know what I mean? I think that we could definitely see that Cade Cunningham, young man out of what I think he's from Texas Tech. He could play, he could ball. You know what I mean? He's got like that mid range. He improved his 3-point shot. He's got the post game. So it's the making of something that could eventually blossom into a very very dangerous team. And right now, they are ahead of schedule. I have to be honest. I think JB Bickerstaff has to get a lot of credit for what he did with that team because when he got banished from Cleveland, nobody knew it was going to happen. You know what I mean? And then beginning of the year when he was with the Pistons, they were kind of struggling a little bit and nothing. Then they go on a run. They won like 15 or like 16 straight games or something like that. At the end of the
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
Well, like I said, like I think like 2 months before the season ended, and the game that I knew that the Pistons could be a really good team is when the Boston Celtics came to Little Caesars Arena and they just destroyed the Celtics. Like, I mean, the Celtics had no answer for what anything they did. And I said, man, this team might actually be good. So it's left unwritten, it's unsaid, but I would say like they are ahead of schedule as far as what people are expecting for that team.
So
No, I
you want
think
to add
that
anything?
yeah, I think that I think they are ahead of schedule, but I wouldn't even say ahead of schedule. I say that they're right on time with the development of Cade Cunningham and him being able to shoulder the basketball team and have guys to be able to support him when he needs it. You know what I mean? Like the experience of Dennis Schroeder, with the flop that turned into a foul. The shooting of Tobias Harris, you know what I'm saying? Those guys have been able to support him in this run. And the Pistons' physicality, you know what I mean? And let's not crown them right away. We have to remember that the Knicks made it easy for them to win that basketball team, being stagnant and having one person run ISO ball, and it was easy for Duran to be able to crowd at the rim and block shots, and they'd look amazing on defense. But when you see that the ball was moving, we got a lot of open shots. They just weren't being made. Um, I had to bring the Knicks back into that. But yes, the Detroit Pistons are a better basketball team, and I'm interested to see what the next step for Kate Cunningham's growth is and who they pair up with him in order to be able to have him, have them go on a deep run
All
next
right,
year.
all right. Well, this is the one series where I'm not gonna ask a question because I think it's gonna take us down a very, very deep rabbit hole. I think we all know what we know and we learn from this series. So we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna go into the two quickest series that we're gonna cover. We're gonna wrap up the Eastern Conference, then we're gonna go straight into the Western Conference. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. We're talking about the number 4 Indiana Pacers versus the number 5 Milwaukee Bucks. And we're gonna make it real quick. All right. Can Giannis get Milwaukee out of the first round on his own? And if he needs support and he has to get support, can Dame provide that support for him to get out of the Eastern Conference first round? Go ahead,
Hell
Sean,
yeah,
let me hear what you
hell,
think.
hell yeah, because Dame came back and looked somewhat himself. In limited action a couple nights ago, he almost played almost 30 minutes. So he came back, and then you had Halle Berry over here pointing at his wrist, going like this. Don't think that Dame is gonna forget what you did, boy. You're gonna come back and light your ass up in game 3. Keep playing with my man Dame Dollar. But listen, Giannis can definitely shoulder the low pause because he's what third, and he's a finalist and MVP voting right now.
Yeah.
Like, and they got the emergence of some young talent for them. I get the name of the young boy, bro, with the braids, got handles. It's pretty good. But
And they
yeah,
got
listen,
Kuzma. Bobby
they got
Portis at
yeah, but
28.
Kuzma has been sucking it up, dude.
Bobby
Like,
Portis at
pause.
28.
Bobby Porter's been playing really, really well. But the Pacers are just such a deep basketball team, dude. Like Nemhard and Pascal Siakam been killing them.
Mm.
So I
Turner.
think, yeah. Listen, I think that some home cooking might be good for the Bucks because they kept it close. And we all know that the Pacers can't hold serve defensively. So I like their chances to take two down in Milwaukee and then head back up in the toss-up game against the Pacers for Game 5.
Okay, okay. So Sean kind of hit on this a little bit. I'm going to ask this question because I know you're going to have a strong opinion on this. Not the most talented, but are the Pacers the deepest team in the Eastern Conference right now? Like, are they the
Yeah,
deepest team, and what does that mean for their chances?
Man, because I mean, they're the 4 seed, right? But I could look at Cleveland and I could look at the Celtics as being, so I would say as depth and having personnel that could. So I think depth to me is when the guys on the bench come in, you don't lose a step. That's the true meaning of depth. Not somebody that's gonna, give you 2 points or 3 points. No, like I was looking at the Oklahoma City game. They actually increased the lead with SGA on and Chet on the bench. With like that's what you call depth. So the Pacers, I would say they are a tie for depth with the Cavaliers and the Celtics. I think they are a deep team because they do play at least. I think Carlisle goes at least 10,
they
maybe
go nine
11,
ten. They go 9
9,
10.
10, 9,
And they
10,
all
which
Go
is
score
9
double
10.
figures.
and you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it's crazy. So they putting up 140 points, which was a shocker that they got just demolished by the Celtics last year. They got swept in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I would say it's a tie between those 3 teams at the top, as far as just having depth and having those people that could just make plays when they need them to.
All right. I feel like this is kind of like a loaded question because I don't think we have as of yet because we haven't seen what it can really be. But what have we learned so far in this series, gentlemen?
I I feel like I haven't learned anything. It's well, no, I take that back. That the Indiana Pacers contingent can count. They do a great job of counting. You know what I'm saying? I thought that I know that one went over your head. But when Giannis is at the line, free throws, y'all seen
Yeah,
the games?
I
Okay,
got it. I got it. I
okay.
got it. I
I
got
thought
it.
the screen was frozen for a second.
I
Yeah,
gotta
but
stay in character. I'm the moderator this week.
yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
stay
But
in character.
the Indiana contingent could count to 10. Um, Dame coming back was a boost for the Bucks, but they just didn't have enough against a deep paced team. It's gonna be. I see this series going 6 or 7, but yeah, it may be Pacers in the long haul.
Okay.
I know you asked me for what I learned, but I went with who I'm gonna pick. So
Okay. That's
sorry
cool.
about that.
Let's let's just move into the Western Conference. Let's go ahead and go with the
Kevin
number.
Porter Jr. That's what I was talking about. Kevin Porter
Okay.
Jr. For all the people who say that I'm getting old in the brain, I don't know who I'm
You
talking
are
about.
getting old, but
Kevin
we ain't
Porter
gonna talk
Jr.
about that. That's not what
Sorry,
we're here
though.
to talk about. We're here to talk about the number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder. Ooh, woo.
Mm.
And the number 8 seed
Bring out the
Memphis
thunder sticks.
Grizzlies.
Bring out the thunder
All right.
sticks.
Wait a second. It's gonna be a quick segment on these guys right here,
Ah,
guys.
no, it's not, man. It's a
Get
great
it.
series. I'm
Listen,
having fun watching it.
Can Ja survive in the West?
I
Can
think
they
that at this
survive?
point,
Can they get a game?
listen, let me help you, brother. I think that Jaren Jackson, Ja, all those guys are up on the trade block next season. I think that there's going to be an opportunity to snatch one of those guys off of that roster. You can clearly see that this roster is not built for the future. Um, they can't compete right now with the roster that they have. And, Taylor Jenkins being released was not a good thing. And you just see in OKC flex their muscle, and SGA hasn't played great in 2 games. And you got Isaiah Joe and those dudes doing their Wiggins doing
A
their thing off
plus.
the bench. Like they just don't have enough. There's nothing to see here. It's just gonna be a sweep. And boys is gonna have to head to Galveston or something.
Josh said he was good in the West.
No, no. He
West
amazing
Memphis.
talent, bro. He is nice, right? But you got to put them boys on the block. They clean the house next season. You don't be surprised if you see John Morant get traded next season. You
I
heard it.
wouldn't.
You heard that
Listen.
here first.
Luca got traded. I'm not surprised at
Yeah,
any
you
trades
can't say no. Yeah,
anymore,
anybody get
bro.
traded. Anybody
Like
get traded. Anybody get
Listen,
traded.
so,
yeah, I don't even want
so,
to talk about that. That's crazy.
so,
If they
so we're gonna go ahead over to the OKC side. Like, can anyone stop what seems to be the championship train juggernaut of a team that is OKC Thunder?
the Clippers,
Oh,
the
healthy
Clippers,
Kawhi is yeah,
healthy Kawhi is bully Kawhi, bro.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
Okay,
he's done
so
something for the confidence of James Harden. You can clearly see it on the court. Like
yeah.
they're a really good basketball team, bro.
I would say it'll be tough. You know what I mean? I think when they're clicking and they're just moving on all cylinders, man, it's hard to stop that team because
Freight
they
train.
that freight train, it's crazy. Playing in
Mm.
Oklahoma City, man, that crowd, how they do it when they do the whiteout. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And
real difficult, man,
and
because
to
it
your
comes in
point,
waves,
Darnell, and to your point,
waves.
Darnell, not to
Yeah,
cut you off, but I'm cutting you
Incredible.
off. When they get rolling, they're Celtics-esque when they get
yeah,
rolling, when they
yeah,
start hitting jump shots from the
yeah,
outside and making plays on the defense that leads to offense. So you're
yeah.
absolutely right.
It is tough when you're playing against a team. Is you know what the problem is? It's really demoralizing when you're out there playing as hard as you can. You're trying to force a turnover. They
Mm-hmm.
get the ball back on a lucky bounce. They get an alley. They kick it over in the corner. Somebody makes a three. It's demoralizing, man. And you could see watching that first game, you could tell like Memphis is like, man, I can't. We like they were just it was shell shock,
Dude, I
you
was
know.
reading online. Somebody said that if you lose by 50 in the playoffs, you should be automatically eliminated.
Yeah, you should be
It was
eliminated.
So,
like,
so
Knockout.
all of that aside, I gotta ask a question for both of you guys, and just really like think about it before you go ahead and just answer, right? Like some people are saying that this OKC team is kind of a little bit ahead of schedule with what they're doing. So what happens if they don't win the championship? What's next?
expectations change for a team in a small, don't really change for a team in a small market. You know what I'm saying? It's different when you're in, Midwestern America and you have a homegrown team like them who may have sprinkled in a couple of pieces through free agency that weren't big splashes, but good cornerstone pieces. You look for SGA to perform in these big time playoff games, and if he doesn't, what do you really say? You know what I'm saying? He's Canadian. He's in Oklahoma City, and he's a nice guy. And if he loses, like, oh well, what are you really gonna do? Blow up the basketball team? Nothing's gonna happen. But at the same
We've
time,
seen them blowing up before.
I don't. Under what circumstances? What do you do? What's the next step? Is what I ask you.
I mean, there is no next step, but I think
Right.
because things they seem to have accelerated their timeline. Like, anything can happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, Isaiah Hartenstein brought a certain level of toughness to that basketball team at the center position. You get back Chet Holmgren. They have the pieces to get the job done. And if they don't, then what do you want?
I gotta
I
say,
don't know.
man.
I don't know what to say to that, to be honest with you. Like what kind of Donna, let me ask you this. What kind of accountability do you place at the feet of SGA or even their GM who's been all world
Pressy
these
has been,
past 20
yeah, all
years?
world. You can't say much because when it's like this, we gotta be honest. And like I do like what you said. When you're a small market team, and this is very funny. Oklahoma City and the Cavs have been probably the most the most
Successful.
not
They've been
talked about
successful.
successful team, and
Yeah.
everything has been dominated by one line, by one team for the most part in the NBA. It's been about the Lakers. Even with the great season that these guys are having, it's been about the Lakers. So when you have that buffer as a small market team like a Oklahoma City, you can have those years where you end up being a number one overall seed, possible MVP, all of the rankings you could think of, but there's nothing more that you could do outside of that. Like so right now, if they could keep it going and if they can win the West, that'll be phenomenal. But as I said, they are going to face a tough whoever they see in that 4 or 5 matchup is going to be tough for them. It's not going to be easy.
Uh,
They have to really cut their teeth on knowing exactly what we got going on and how can this team develop and what exactly is the next stage for this team. Because if they don't make it to the NBA Finals, it's
yeah.
it's wash, rinse, and repeat all over again.
But the dope part again that I go back to is that you have a similar situation with them that you do with Boston in the sense that you
Yeah,
have a lot of first round talent that you
yeah,
drafted and cultivated and
yeah,
grown from a player development perspective, and you're watching them perform on the court night in and night out and grow as a team because
yeah,
there are a few pieces that they traded for on that basketball team that they just turned around and drafted. You know what I'm saying? So like their ascension, listen, it has been well respected, and if they don't win and they don't get to the next level, I don't think that you can turn around and say, well, oh, we got to blow up this basketball team and trade guys away. You're not going to get rid of a Jalen Williams. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to trade away a Shy Gillis Alexander. Like you're just not going to do it. So it's like what's the point? What's the point of the conjecture? You're just gonna have guys be disappointed after the season, but they're gonna go right. They're gonna reload and go right back
yeah.
at it again.
They're not gonna do what they did like the last time. That's not
No,
gonna happen.
They've
no,
It's
learned
not.
their
they're
lesson.
they're they're going. I
Yeah,
think minimum Darnell. I think they're going Western Conference Finals.
yeah, easily, easily.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that said, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed, Golden State Warriors, which to me is a very exciting series.
My bathroom break incoming too, so I'm just going to jet in the
I
middle of the
would
pod
it
because
wasn't a
it would
bathroom.
only be right if I just jetted in the middle of the shit too.
Yeah,
So
I went like this though. It was a fire emergency.
okay. No, I'm just letting you know. I'm
Go
gonna be
ahead.
right.
I
If
mean,
if
no
if
problem.
Darnell and Maneuvers didn't leave, I got to dip too. So
No problem. You got to do it. You got to do it.
impromptu. Just letting you know.
Yeah, take it whenever you got a jet. You know what I'm saying? But very exciting series between the young Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors.
Is
Um,
it?
I think so. I think so.
Is it?
I think it is exciting.
I
I
think it's
think
a bunch of old experienced niggas beating up on some young dudes who can't figure out what they want to do on offense. Great defensively. Alperen Sengun, chef's kiss. But Jalen Green
Offensive
didn't show up.
genius over there, man.
Huh?
Yeah,
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 but
defensive. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think Ime is gonna figure a couple things out, and it's gonna be a couple close games here. Yeah, I think it's interesting. But the question that is on my mind is Houston still too young, or is it just that, the Warriors and that championship DNA with that coaching from Steve Kerr is too good?
Both.
No, oh, yeah,
Go ahead,
Sean.
Darnell. Go ahead. No, no, you got it. You
Nah,
got it. You got it.
nah, nah, nah. I think a lot of it is this Houston Rockets team. And remember, I did say I picked them. I said whoever they play in the playoffs, that's the series I want to see, and that's who I want to really figure out where is this real? Because they have a lot of young guys that could play, but they don't. I don't know if they know how to play together yet. And you got to commend Emi Udoka to come back from what that pass what happened 2 seasons ago to come back and not have the second ranked team in the West. But I don't think it's more about the Rockets. I think this story is more along the lines of where the Golden State Warriors are as a franchise and how they're able to reload and how Jimmy has given Steph a new like a new
Life.
life.
Hmm.
The team looks different, man. Like playoff Jimmy is a real thing, and Miami's realizing that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alperen, listen, the only constant that you can see that the Warriors are gonna have difficulty dealing with is because of their big man situations. Alperen Sengun, like I said, but you're looking for performances from Jalen Green. You're looking for performances from Amen Thompson, and those young guys didn't show up, and you expect that, right? Because it's their first time in the playoffs. You're gonna see inconsistency, but then you're also gonna see flashes from these young men right now too. They're at home right now as we speak playing. I think that you're gonna see a better performance from them, but they can't contend with the playoff experience of the Golden State Warriors. They just got too much ammunition. Jimmy Butler adds an element to what they do in terms of low post basketball play, being able to find guys in the low post and get into the
Facilitating,
free throw line,
facilitator, man.
facilitating, and the biggest player or X factor that we're not even discussing, the Draymond Green, his impact as a result of Jimmy Butler being added to this basketball team is seen, and you can clearly see he has more confidence putting up the basketball in shot clock situations where you don't expect him to make shots, and he's been doing it. So I like the Golden State Warriors in this series. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch because like I said, the Rockets are going to have their moments, but Golden State Warriors got it.
So we talked about Steph, we've talked about Draymond, we talked about the addition of playoff Jimmy, and I'm listening to what I'm hearing. Do we think that this iteration of the Golden State Warriors have one more championship run in them?
Yeah, they sure do. As long as they have the babyface assassin on their basketball team, they have a chance. Um, do they have a strong chance? Probably not, because the West is really tough defensively, and when you get certain guys putting the clamps on certain play, like Jimmy Butler, who's Jimmy's good, but he goes against somebody like a Kawhi Leonard or even like the defensive collective like OKC is cooked for him. You know what I'm saying? But
But
yeah,
have we
I think
seen
that they
Jimmy
can
in
be.
this type of situation?
What do you mean? Like with
Not
another
he doesn't have to
player?
be
He's
that
not. He's
guy.
not the alpha. He doesn't have to be the
Yeah,
alpha.
he's not that
Yeah,
guy.
we've seen it. We've seen it before, and it hasn't turned out the way that we
When?
would have liked it to
In
in
Minnesota,
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, and Minnesota.
In
He had,
Philadelphia,
Yeah,
when they did
yeah,
not
but
when they
Philadelphia
decided to give the
is
contract to Tobias Harris versus him and let him walk to Miami.
which is
You know,
crazy. Which is still
we've seen
crazy
that
to this
motion.
day.
We've seen this motion picture before.
Yeah, yeah.
I, I hear what you're saying. We've seen the motion picture where he hasn't had to be the alpha, but we've not seen this motion picture before. He
With
has
Steph.
not played with an top 10 all-time greatest player in the NBA. He hasn't.
So you don't think that prime Ben Simmons and prime Joel Embiid
Top
were
10 all-time in the history of the
oh yeah.
NBA.
Oh yeah.
That's who he's
But
playing with now.
I argue this with you right now, right? Quick and simple. We can wrap this up after this. Who was the better basketball team at this time of the year? The Philadelphia 70, that iteration of the Philadelphia 76 of 2021, or was it 2021 or 2019? Anyway, whichever year it was, that iteration of that team versus this basketball team with the Golden State Warriors, which was better?
Golden State Warriors.
You're wild.
Championship. When you talk about when you guys talk about championship pedigree, that's
You on
championship
drugs.
pedigree. The
You on
coaching,
drugs.
they got better coaching than Donna. Can I get a Doc Rivers impersonation? They got better coaching. They got the Warriors, man. I'm taking this Jimmy Butler with this Warriors team is 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 nothing we've seen before. But we gonna leave it there. We're gonna go ahead and talk about um the matchup that I think a lot of people were expecting to see some fireworks and it not be so close. And game one kind of shook everyone. Like, oh, wait a second, we weren't expecting this. We're gonna talk about the number three Los Angeles Lakers versus number six Minnesota Timberwolves. It's Ant-Man's stage.
Yeah, listen. Is there
Can he dominate the
Listen, that's got to
moment?
be one of the funniest, most entertaining series going on in basketball right now. You got Kevin Gates showing up after talking crazy about Savannah James, right? On for game two, chest out, jewelry on, staring at LeBron James like this in the front row. Then the game before that, game one, Ed gets fined for telling somebody that his dick bigger than somebody else in the crowd. Pause. Then you got then you got LeBron James faking being hurt on the court, peeking like this with his eye. Yo, this series has been fun to watch, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Uh, but
Hey,
I think
LeBron,
that
you are 40 years old, man. Stop acting like a little kid.
yo, bro, like he was literally like, did you see y'all see it? The footage where he was like this, when he after he got fouled, he was like, did
Yeah,
they see? Did
yeah.
they
See,
call
did
the
they
flagrant?
see? Did they see?
Like, yo, like, come on, son. Like,
Yeah.
but I guess if you've been in the NBA, what, 21, 22 years, you can get away with something like that. Um, and Anthem been caught way too many times on the candid camera and people catching sound bites. And he got to relax
It's
because he's gonna
it's
end up with. Because if he's not careful, you're gonna end up in a cardboard box in the all season from all them goddamn fines. But
yeah,
back to
man.
the
It's
basketball. I think that the versatility of the Warriors and their athleticism are giving problems to the
The
Los Angeles
Lakers,
Lakers on the defensive end of
come on, the
on the
the
Timberwolves.
defensive end.
Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves, my bad. The Wolves are giving the Lakers a hard time on the defensive end because of their athleticism and versatility, one through five, especially when they had that that lineup with Nas Reed, Julius Randle, and you put Gobert on the court like that. That's a lot for them to handle. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I like what I see from the Wolves. Have improved as the season's going on. They rattled off a couple of straight to end the season, so they're really hot right now. Um, JJ Redick had them boys ready to play game two. They came back and they won, but I'm interested to see how the series shakes out. I'm picking the Timberwolves to win in six. No Lakers
Okay,
in five here, baby.
okay, okay. So, I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next question for you, Darnell. He's saying that Timberwolves gonna win in six. What's at stake for LeBron, Luka, and JJ? With this series.
a lot of people had them going possibly to the Eastern to the Western Conference Finals. But I mean, right now you gotta commend number one this machination that we have of the Lakers.
Well, big
It's
word.
it's a great team. It's a really good team. They got woke up. They got like kind of knocked out. They got punched in the teeth. You know what I mean? That first game, second game they came back. They won the second one, but right now they weren't expected to be this good. Remember, at one point in time, they were actually number two for a long time in the West. They were fighting for that number two spot. So you got to
LeBron
commend
got
them.
hurt and they had a little slip up.
They had a little slip up. You know what I mean? So I can't knock them. Like, well, Luka clearly is the heir apparent to LeBron that they wanted. Obviously, it wasn't Anthony Davis, but he's an heir apparent. The next season, that's when you could really say, like, okay, they had one season under JJ. They still got to get, they're still working with Luka half season. But if you look at that team top to bottom, if when they're rolling and they're playing defense, which is like what the calling card of LeBron was. Granted, Luka's not the best, but you actually seen Luka actually trying his best. You know what I mean? So LeBron is definitely impeding some of that wisdom and teaching him how to play. And honestly, man, this trade is probably what Luka needed to get that passion and to be like, you know what? I'm gonna be that dog on offense, and I'm gonna try to get better on defense. So to me, it's a holistic thing of like what I see the Lakers are like right now. And to me, I don't think it'll be a failure, but I think they're going to get to the Western Conference Finals, if I'm honest. I really do.
Okay, all right. I think we need to look at the brackets when we start talking about where they're gonna make it. That's number one. Number two.
They're going to play the two, the winner of the two. They play the winner of the 2-7.
uh,
So I think they're going to beat the Warriors or the Rockets, either one.
Okay. So we'll get let's talk then about, this series right now though. And I think it's really simple. I think uh, they continue to play the defense that they've been playing, and they put JJ needs to call plays that puts Julius Randle on Luka Doncic. However he can get that matchup to work, he needs to get that matchup. Because thank you, Julius, for all that you did in New York. But that matchup is the matchup that's going to work for the Lakers because he's going to cook him every time, and do everything you can to put Rudy Gobert out on an island guarding a smaller man. And that's how they're going to win this series. And I think JJ is a phenomenal basketball mind. And I think we'll see a little bit more of that as this series wears on. So now we're gonna wrap up the Western Conference with the most exciting basketball in the playoffs thus far. The number 4 Denver Nuggets versus the number 5 LA Clippers. This is playoff basketball. Listen, you know, Kawhi has been going through it with the injuries, and he's gotten a bad rap in the media, and people have talked about all these things about Kawhi, and Joker's not so marketable. So I feel like the non NBA watchers, it's not a series that they're tuning into, but this is the one that you need to tune into because it is the best. So
It's not the
Kawhi
series we
versus
wanted, but it's the series we needed.
yeah, it is. It definitely is.
It's definitely the series we needed.
Yeah. So Kawhi versus the Joker, right? Like plain and simple. Who you guys got? Who you think takes the series?
Man, I see this series going 7 games,
I see this series
possibly.
going 9 games, bro.
Listen, I see the series going 7. You can clearly see both teams are evenly matched. You know what I mean? Joker's the Denver Nuggets have the better offensive team collectively, but not the better defensive team. And defense wins championships. And they don't have a Kawhi. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a James Harden. They have Jamal Murray, and they got Christian Braun and Westbrook who can hit a corner three every now and then, but it's not enough. to beat the Clippers. I think the Clippers can take this in 7 games. It could be a surprise and they win in 6. But I like the brand of basketball that they're playing right now. It's gritty. You're seeing Kawhi move in a way that you've never seen Kawhi move in the last 6 years. You know what I'm saying? Playing on both sides of the ball, high intensity and efficient. Again, 7 games for the Clippers, in my opinion.
All right. So, Darnell, what do you think?
Let's think. You look back, that game one, they should have won game one. They were beat. It was a point in time where Denver
That
had
was the
no
thriller.
answer. Yeah, they had no answer for them, and man, like it was a like Kawhi got a steal in that first game and he drove all the way down, man, and he got himself one, man. He got himself a body. He got two of them in
But you
that
know what? You know what's so crazy, Darnell?
yeah.
The resilience of them from game one to game two
Yes.
in another grinded out fashion.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta go with the Clippers, man. I don't think Denver essentially. I think Denver right now is playing with a little bit of air, but I don't think they got enough. I think the Clippers are their team has more depth, and I do think that team as a whole, when they play collectively with Kawhi and James Harden, dude, you got a completely different animal, man.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how well Zubas has played too against
Amazing,
Joker. He's
amazing,
played
phenomenal.
he's played pretty well. Norman Powell's played
Frustrated, man.
decent
Frustrated
in
the heck
game.
out of
He
him.
played better in game two. He
Yeah,
laid an egg in game one, played better in game two. So I mean,
yeah,
the sum it's the sum of all their parts. Nicholas Batum hitting threes with the quick release, like yeah, Clippers, bro,
Yeah.
Clippers.
hey, quick,
Okay.
quick. Said injury update, man. Jimmy just fell real hard on his back. So injury
Yeah.
update on the Warriors and the Rockets
That's
game.
Jimmy. That's Jimmy Butler. He's bionic.
Jimmy's he went
He'll
he
be
went to
back.
the
He'll be back with a heat pack on his back playing.
he just went to the locker room, so he was walking pretty gingerly, man. So update on that. That's real key. That's real big.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's big. It could be a big loss. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap tonight up real quick, real rapid fire. Couple of these things have been awarded already. So for those categories, we're just gonna ask what you think about who the award went to. But we're gonna start with MVP. We're gonna start with the big one. Pause. So everybody looking at. You got the finalists, Joker, SGA's, Giannis. Um, who's got the best narrative, who's got the best numbers. That's really what it
SGA is gonna win, right? But it really and truthfully it should go to Joker, averaging a triple double, like one of like I think what 5 or 6
five.
players to ever do it in the NBA history. I think that you got to go with SGA, because of the
Because they
almost
robbed them last year.
they yeah, and Joker's already got one. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Two
couple.
So
Joker's got two. He got two.
yeah, he's already got his fair share. So I see them go with SGA as a pity MVP, but it should be Joker, to be honest.
I disagree. I think it should be SGA. I think he was robbed last year. I think um, consistency throughout the season, has been there for him.
Mhm.
And I think he's got the best narrative too. So I think that's part of the situation. He's, you know, one of the better teams in the league. Not the best team, one of the better teams. Don't know. What say you?
On SGA. I can't waver from this one, man. Like
Um,
it's just when you watch him play, it's as if he's just got this. He just knows how to slow everything down and make it look
Smooth, bro.
easy for him.
mhm.
Smooth.
You watch him as just like it's like an elegance to his game. He just knows exactly where to be, how to set his teammates up. Which is, I said, not saying Joker doesn't, but I
Mhm.
think it's something when you see it from the point guard position. Because you think about it, these guys are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. You got a point guard and a center. Both right now just doing it in a way that you want to see the game being played that way. But Oklahoma City has become a force. And the thing is, Shea plays defense. Joker doesn't play defense. You know what I mean? So he got at one point in time, didn't he average like 2 or 3 steals last year? You
Yeah,
know?
he's always been in the conversation for NBA steals leader. So
Yeah, man. So that
I'm with you on
defense
that.
matters.
However,
Let's
Joker's
keep it
impact on the
short, fellas.
game.
Come on. I hate
All
to
right,
do
what's
it.
next?
I hate
Next,
to
next.
do it. We're gonna move on. Defensive player of the year. Dyson Daniels, Draymond Green, Evan Mobley. Who we got?
Evan Mobley.
Nah, I'm going Dyson Daniels on that one, man. Dyson is he's a force. He
I'm
just he just
I'm
I gotta
on
go.
the reason I'm gonna go Dyson Daniels is because he's not gonna win most improved player of the year. And he needs to get one of them. So I'm gonna give him defensive player of the year. Um,
For out of pity,
I
what are
know
y'all
he
doing? Look
have
at
you
the
seen him
look at have
defensively?
you
He's
nigga, have you seen the difference of the Cleveland
no one's
Cavaliers?
no one's no one's arguing against you. We're just giving our picks, sir. Rookie
That's
of the year, Stephon
that's
Castle, Zachariah Richer, Jalen Wells.
I mean, did any of them deserve rookie yeah, but I mean, no, Stephon Casemiro because of his
It's a fun Castle
explosiveness,
on that
bro.
one. I'm gonna go Castle on that one.
I'm gonna go Castle too. Most improved player of the year. It's kind of in the bag. Kate Cunningham, Dyson Daniels, and Zubac.
It's
Zubac,
gonna be
man,
it's gonna
Zubac,
be
baby.
it's gonna be Cade, bro. It's gonna be Cade. It's gonna
But
be Cade.
Cade had similar numbers last year.
I know, but he's
Yeah,
gonna
he's
get it.
gonna get it because of the
He's gonna get
narrative,
it.
but we all the Zubac is
Yeah,
Zubac
I
Zubac, yeah.
as
What
a
are you gonna do?
player.
shout out
Yeah,
to Zoo. Shout out to Zoo, bro.
yeah.
So, six man of the year went to Peyton Pritchard. Was he really the spark that shifted gears for the Celtics, or he just happened to be fortunate, a good player on a really
Should
great.
have been should have been Malik Beasley. He got robbed. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's Peyton Pritchard. You know what I'm saying? We don't know if he's white or Puerto Rican. He's an excellent basketball player. What can I say? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Peyton Pritchard.
Okay, all right.
It's like Aaron and
Darnell.
Anthony. That's why I'll be looking at him like,
Like, what is he? You know what I'm
I don't know,
saying?
man. I'm gonna say yeah. Peyton Pritchard got it, but I could make a case for Malik Beasley and Ty Jerome has been playing some great basketball too, man. We got to really hand it to him. He had I think he dropped like 35 one night. But yeah, I would say Peyton Pritchard is deserving, but either anyone on that list could have won it, to be honest.
For sure.
Um, so last one that I want to talk about that I think is important. Clutch player of the year. Our boy Jalen Brunson got it. What do you guys think?
Hell yeah. I mean, times that man bailed us out and hit last minute. What did he lead like in the entire NBA and go ahead shots made this year? Some crazy statistic like that. Like Jalen Brunson, he's a money time player, bro. When especially you got to think about him doing this in the market that he's doing it in New York. It's a very difficult thing to do. So yes, 100% Jalen Brunson.
Darnell, what say you? We can't hear you. Speak up.
I'm a go JB, but I'm pretty sure Ant Man might get it.
No, he won.
No, Jalen
He
Brunson
won.
won clutch
He won
player
the award.
Oh, he did?
officially.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay. I didn't know he won it. Okay. My bad. I
yeah.
missed that one. I missed
The
that
hell's
one.
wrong with you, man? And even if
Right?
that was the case, why are you going? Why are you saying they gonna go at it?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know he won. I didn't know he won. My bad. My bad.
Nah. I mean, statistically, he was going to win the award because, like I said, I think he led the NBA in go ahead buckets. Uh, in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, some kind of statistic like that. I'm not prepared, but it's something
Yeah.
close to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Last one. Wrap it
Well
up for the
deserved.
night, dog. Um, we got Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson, JB Bickerstaff, Ime Udoka. Who y'all got?
I feel bad for JJ Redick. Uh, Given the pressure cooker situation of taking on that Lakers team and doing what he did with them with the sum of the parts that they had is kind of tough on him not to be nominated in the top three. But those three coaches are excellent. I have to go with Ime Udoka. No one saw the Rockets coming from where they came from to take the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. Nobody. It's the 2nd seed, excuse me. 2nd seed.
Like honestly, I like JB Bickerstaff, but I feel Kenny Atkinson is gonna get it because with that Cavs team and how dominant they've been this year,
He
and
should have. Yeah.
yeah, I think it might be Kenny Atkinson for this one.
Yeah.
Final answer.
Moderator, you on mute.
You're on mute. Yeah, you're on mute.
I think he knows that.
Yeah, my bad. I messed up. Jacking it
Oh,
up.
oh, my bad.
He got to go use the bathroom.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great episode of Shoot Your Shot 22 Twos. Listen, we're gonna be back with some NFL draft content for y'all ass tomorrow night. Listen, we got some more content coming. We're definitely gonna talk about that Shannon Sharp situation, fellas. And listen, like, comment, share, subscribe to the pod. Don't play with us. All right, 22 Twos, baby. We out.
Peace.